To work at Ukraine Crisis Media Center, and the topic of the first briefing is sale of the Illichivsk port along with the oil and factories. Who determines the prices of Ukrainian assets? Market Accords. Gifford, West, Director of International Operations and Business Development, DebtX. Svitlana Rekrut, Deputy Managing Director of the Deposit Guarantee Fund. Eleiko, Director of the Department for the Consolidated Sale of Assets of the Deposit Guarantee Fund.
Good morning. My name is Gifford West. I am the Managing Director of DebtX with responsibility for DebtX international operations. I joined DebtX in 2002 and have managed our European activities since 2004. I'm going to read some brief comments, and then, after the three of us have spoken, we'll accept questions. First, it is critical to understand that DebtX is in the business of conducting fair and open auctions of non-performing loans. We typically do not sell real estate, factories, or land. We sell non-performing loans secured by assets such as these. Investors that bid on our auctions are not bidding on the ownership of a property. They are bidding on a ticket to a war, the right to step into the shoes of a lender and pursue a judgment against a possibly hostile borrower that has not honored its loan agreements. The investor that wins a DebtX auction is not guaranteed that they will gain control of the asset. Substantial legal and other costs typically stand between them and the underlying assets. In cases, they are not successful in gaining control and their investment has been wasted. DebtX has operated for 20 years, conducting open, transparent auctions of non-performing loans. Our clients include government agencies in the US, Ireland, and Germany, as well as thousands of banks. Examples of clients include the FDIC, NAMA in Ireland, and EAA in Germany. Our clients in Europe include some of the largest banks in the United Kingdom, Germany, and Spain. We conduct over 120 auctions per year of loans. In Europe, we've conducted sales in Ireland, the United Kingdom, Finland, Germany, Spain, Italy, Switzerland, and the Ukraine. DebtX is respected by the international distressed debt investment community for operating fair auctions. Over 4,000 investors are registered on the DebtX platform. International investors are comfortable considering new geographies and asset classes through DebtX because we have earned over 20 years a reputation for running fair and transparent auctions. DebtX was engaged by the DGF because it could bring international investors into the Ukraine market and run a fair and open auction. Over the past 3 years, DebtX has sponsored at least 6 international conferences to discuss investment in Ukraine. These conferences have been in London, Prague, Vienna, Kiev, and elsewhere. DebtX has conducted face-to-face meetings, written articles, and conducted multiple outreach campaigns to interest investors in the Ukraine. The feedback from international investors in general is a concern over the ability to enforce loans in the Ukrainian legal system. The assets are attractive, but there is a concern that having bought the loan, the investors will not be able to enforce it through the courts. Some borrowers are too powerful and the courts are not consistent. With regards to the 4.5 billion hryvnia non-performing loan portfolio we're discussing, DebtX was engaged to sell a non-performing loan portfolio secured by these facilities. The buyer was not guaranteed ownership of the assets, only the right to pursue the borrower through the courts. DebtX marketed the opportunity aggressively, including advertisements in trade publications, conference placements, direct conversations with possible industry buyers in Europe, the US, and Asia, direct conversations with the largest private equity firms operating in Europe, and local Ukrainian distressed debt investors. Over 500 investors were contacted, both strategic investors, large agricultural operators, and financial investors, large hedge funds. Given the complexity of the structure of the loans and the highly specialized nature of the underlying assets, a large universe of buyers was not expected to participate in the ultimate auction. In the March 6th auction, 5 investors paid the $500 fee to review the due diligence materials, including loan documents, legal analysis, economic analysis, and reports from site inspections, and 3 deposited the guarantee fee. Of these 5, 1 was a respected international investor. After reviewing the assets, 3 were interested enough to deposit the guarantee fee of 40 million hryvnia. All 3 that could bid did so. The high bid was 906 million hryvnia. Unfortunately, a frivolous lawsuit was allowed to be filed in a local administrative court, which made it impossible for either the auction to be closed or the security deposits to be forfeited. The lawsuit, filed by a party that did not bid, deprived the DGF of the opportunity of collecting 906 million hryvnia, or, if the high bid was not honored, at a minimum collecting the forfeited 40 million hryvnia security deposit. Further related lawsuits and investigations disclose the names of the participants, thus potentially undermining the competition in later sales. In my 20 years of experience working in the European markets, I have never seen a situation like this. Under the DGF's instructions, DebtX then conducted 4 subsequent auctions, each with a lower minimum price during the Dutch auction phase. A number of investors that had shown interest in the first auction declined to participate, in some cases for no stated reasons. For some investors, the success of the frivolous lawsuit confirmed their concerns about the Ukrainian legal system. What interest had existed amongst international investors for this sale was destroyed. Competition was undermined. In the later auctions, although 2 deposits were registered, only 1 bid was received at 182 million hryvnia. Every auction that was conducted regarding the assets was conducted to the highest international best market practices. The assets were aggressively marketed by all possible means available. The process was open, honest, and open to any investor with a means to post a security deposit. In DebtX's opinion, the results of the last auction represent the market price of this asset. DebtX is optimistic regarding international investors entering the Ukraine. Prior to this auction, DebtX conducted a successful auction, and international investors introduced to the Ukraine by DebtX are now active in this market. We believe the DGF's program is the correct path to bringing international investors to the Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Запрошую до слова пана Тараса Елейка.
Доброго дня. Я в 2 словах розкажу, в принципі, про сам процес продаж і про активи, які були виставлені на продаж. Для продажу в лоті, який от ми сьогодні зібралися обговорити, були представлені активи.
So the assets of 11 companies were present, 11 companies participated. These were not assets, these were loans. And there were 14 hectares of land near Odessa port and also terminal in the port. And there were plans to build grain terminal, and also there was oil and fat plant in Odessa, and there were court hearings and in order to get the hold over the assets. It is done through the courts, through liquidation procedures, and by buying these loans, it is difficult to reach the end assets. If we are speaking about this pool, there was indebtedness of 5 billion hryvnias. 5 of these companies were in the procedure of liquidation. 6 of the companies were stopped. According to the law, their assets were sold. When we put these assets, we understood that they're interesting, but the situation with loans is really difficult. And we traded through Prozoro, and we held 10 biddings. 897,000 was the minimum price, and we were unsuccessful in this. And the circle of buyers is not so big in Ukraine, at least in Ukraine. And the fund took decision to bring international advisors. And in the result of selection that was carried out by the fund, we selected DebtX company. It has a lot of experience in selling such assets in the world. When we chose our advisors, we wanted to bring foreign advisors to show this asset outside Ukraine and in Ukraine. We understood that everyone knows about it in Ukraine, but we wanted to attract additional investors abroad. First bid happened on the 6th of March. 3 participants were registered. The chronology was like this. First participant, Sky Company, stopped English auction. So these were the same systems of auction as in Prozoro. And Sky stopped at 215 million, then another company, and then the next company provided 233, then Sky once again provided 897. So after this, we faced an interesting situation. After this, the next day, we had a letter from the lawyer, and he said that there is a decision of the court that prohibits us to sign protocols and to continue with the agreement. We couldn't find this decision in the register, and there was nothing special about it, because according to the chronology, on the 5th was a decision, on the 6th we had bidding, and they had to put it, and they put it on the register in 5 days after bidding. And what is surprising, it was made public under the same number as another decision. So they have the same number for 2 decisions in the register. This was the decision of Kiev District Court, Administrative Court, and this decision prohibited us to sign the protocol of this bidding, and the buyer was not able to sign this protocol as well, because there was a prohibition from the court then, understanding that we saw competition in bidding, and we took such a decision. First, when the price was formed 906 million, we started at 867, and then we fell 80%. The price went up, and it became higher, and then we limited this fall, not 80% like it was previously. We approved 4 biddings. First 50% discount, from the initial price, then minus 60, then minus 70, and first was 80%. And we faced such a situation. We had a court decision that did not help foreigners, investors to enter. And during these biddings, we had registered participants, but only at the last bidding that was approved. We held 4 biddings concerning this price, 906 million, and DebtX carried out active marketing campaign. They informed all investors that the price is decreased. Please come and look at this asset. Unfortunately, we didn't see any additional investors, and this asset was bought at 122 million during the last bidding. Thank you. We give the floor to Svitlana Rekrut. So why we invited journalists today and why we are holding this briefing at Ukraine Crisis Media Center? This is a conscious step because selling of claims of concerning Illichivsk port, this is a very difficult thing, and our fund is always speaking about it. So these companies are bankrupt, and my personal opinion is that bankruptcy is often controlled, conscious, in order to decrease the price of the asset. Second, in the majority of cases, there are court hearings, and this is the second scheme, and we pay attention to it. So assets are stolen or they are made really cheap. And also we preserved this cost of asset, but there were 15 bids, and the price was formed, and at the end we saw one classic scheme. This is claim to stop bidding through court decision. What it means, the situation that we face now, is that the first initial price was 900 million, then was a Agurtsov decision, then was 178 million. So this is the price of this is the cost of the court decision. So the fund didn't have this money, and in the press they blame us, they blame the fund. And today's briefing is call to everyone, please pay attention to this issue. We want to present proper information to you. A fund provided transparent system, and I would put my last dollar that this system is transparent. But some people do not believe us. We invited the best experts in the world who sold this asset. And what happened? Nothing can happen until we have transparent court system, until we have proper protection of creditors. And I read reports of Gifford about marketing of this asset, and that many investors were informed, and we wanted that all the world knew about this asset. But who will come to the country where the decisions of the court are just bought? And these biddings showed the situation. We may calculate these losses. I won't say that this should be 900 million or other sum. I am in the fund in order to be sure that this asset, it was searching for its market, and the only thing we want is to do everything transparently. On my Facebook page, I wrote that maybe there was a collusion, but how can I respond when during the first bid the company stops auction at 215 million, but then the same company puts 900 million. And they just appear, and we had, and so the company stops trading at 182 million then. So I do not blame anyone. I just try to analyze the situation. And I hope that investors, society, and journalists and law enforcers and all other people in this country will be able to carry out such analysis. Do we have opportunity to cancel this bidding? I wrote it on my page. These were transparent biddings. If we are speaking about DebtX, they are our partners, and they did everything correctly. We do not have any problems with bidding. And all the funds will go to our. So the bank signed the protocol, and there were no legal grounds not to sign, and the fund believed that we. But we signed the protocol, and now this agreement will be concluded. And at this stage, I would like to say, and please pay attention to the conditions and the position of the guarantee fund. We did everything possible in order to make this auction transparent, and the position of the creditors will be really important, even the decisive one, and also the buyers should provide this money. And now we have time for questions. Please, if you have questions, ask. Good afternoon, Alexander Musenko, Economic Truth news outlet. And what can the creditors do? And there is also Ukrainian Bank, and as I remember, there were some legal problems concerning liquidator, and why this asset is pledged by Ukrainian Bank. So there is a painful story of court hearings. There were some, and now the title of Ukrainian Bank as a pledge, it is protected. And what rights of the about rights of the creditors? We have Ukrainian Bank and National Bank, and the National Bank agreed the price, and the creditor has the right for this, and the Ukrainian Bank also knows the price, and in case of some disagreement, they may provide information that they do not disagree, but they didn't submit it. And there were cases when they disagreed, and the fund responded. But I would like to stress that we provide technical support of the process. We undertook obligation to carry out it in a maximally transparent way, and we did it. Now, the result of this, the end of the story, depends also on the creditors. I do not hear the question. Yes, they have the right to take decision, the provision of the National Bank and they have the right to write a letter to address court to prohibit to fund and Delta Bank to sign agreement. So they have a wide range of instruments what they can do if they have such a wish. Or they may do nothing. And they may say that this is a market and it operates like this, and it is formed by conditions that we have, and they may understand that they should just leave this asset because we do not have proper investment climate and courts in Ukraine. And I have two brief questions to Taras. First one, you said that pools were traded on the assets separately, and for how long this procedure was carried out, and what about the assessment activity? These assets were traded in one pool because they are all they are connected with the Illichivsk land plot in Illichivsk port. That's why we traded them in one set, and these loans were provided to one industrial group, and 1 billion was the cost, and this was and we have many questions to assessment, to any assessments that are made concerning credits. That's why we put initial price at the level of book value. So we started with 4.13 billion, and this was indebtedness, and at auctions we tried to do it at this price, and then we discounted 10% each time. That 2 times we had Dutch auctions concerning this asset with this price of book indebtedness, and after Dutch auction we decided to invite foreign advisors in order to broaden the circle of potential participants. Do you have other questions, dear colleagues? If there are no, please, we may have final remarks.
In the 3 years DebtX has been working in the Ukraine with the DGF, we've been consistently impressed by the honesty and professionalism of that institution. We've at no point ever doubted their commitment to maximizing the proceeds from every sale in which they conduct. I think the Ukraine can be proud of the team they've assembled to try and realize value from these assets. And we are committed to bringing international investors into Ukraine. We think it's an attractive market. There's problems, but we believe the long-term possibilities are good. Thank you.
As Svitlana said, our main task is to provide transparent bidding with maximum opportunities and provision of information to bidders, and we try to do it in Prozoro and concerning problematic assets, and we invite foreign advisors, and we try to do everything openly and transparently, and all participants may have this transparent process. And we cancelled all limitations for participation in bidding. We created proper process of trading, and there should be proper price formation. And this is not only about the market and the pledges, but we should take into account our situation, our court system, and also our so the price is formed, taken into account many factors, and these factors also may work not to the benefit of good price. So I would like to thank those journalists who join us today, and I know that many colleagues watch us online. I would like to say, I would like to not only analyze the situation, but also I would like to call on all professional community to continue their fight for investment climate in Ukraine to make it better. And once again, I would like to remember about Ukrainian Bank and Krishyatik Bank and many other cases when the situation was really bad because of court decisions, and it led to big losses of creditors. And the case of Illichivsk plant shows that without proper monitoring from the side of society, we won't be able to succeed. So I thank you for focusing on this case. And all this wave started when some people accused the fund, but we got accustomed to this because if you do not do anything, they do not criticize you. And when you do something, there are always people who criticize you. So we discussed these problematic issues here today, and we thank you all. We wish you all the best. Thank you. We thank you all for attention, and this is the end of the briefing.